The power of being unreadable begins with a realization that many chosen ones encounter repeatedly throughout their lives. There is something about your presence that people struggle to explain. When you walk into a room, conversations sometimes pause for a moment, not because you demanded attention, but because others instinctively feel that you operate on a different frequency than the usual social patterns around them. Most individuals reveal themselves quickly through predictable behaviors, emotional reactions, and the constant need to explain their intentions. But the chosen one often moves through the world with a quieter awareness. You observe more than you speak, think before reacting, and rarely feel the urge to expose every detail of your inner world. This difference alone creates a sense of mystery that people cannot easily decode. Some individuals respond to this mystery with curiosity. They watch your behavior closely, trying to understand what drives your decisions and why your responses seem so calm, even in situations that provoke strong reactions in others. Others respond with discomfort because unpredictability challenges their sense of control. Many social environments operate on familiar emotional cues. When people know how someone usually reacts, they feel secure in predicting the outcome of interactions. The chosen one disrupts that comfort because your reactions are guided by reflection rather than impulse. You do not reveal every thought immediately, and you do not allow external pressure to dictate your emotional state. This independence makes it difficult for others to categorize you within the simple roles they use to understand the people around them. As a result, they begin trying to figure you out. They analyze your words, your silence, your decisions, and even your calmness. Yet the more they attempt to decode you, the more they realize that the usual explanations do not fully apply. The introduction reveals an important truth about this dynamic. The mystery surrounding the chosen one is not accidental, nor is it a strategy designed to confuse others. It emerges naturally from self-awareness, emotional discipline, and the willingness to move through life without constantly seeking validation from those around you. When someone understands themselves deeply, they no longer feel compelled to perform their identity for an audience. They become comfortable with silence, comfortable with observation, and comfortable with letting their actions speak more clearly than explanations ever could. This internal stability creates an aura that many people find difficult to interpret because it does not rely on the usual signals of insecurity or approval seeking. The central message begins to unfold through this realization. The chosen one's mysterious nature is not a weakness or a social flaw that needs to be corrected. In many ways, it is one of their greatest strengths. Being difficult to read protects them from manipulation, discourages unnecessary conflict, and encourages others to approach them with greater respect. What others interpret as mystery is often simply the presence of someone who has learned how to remain centered in their own understanding. And because that presence cannot be easily predicted or controlled, it creates a quiet influence that changes the dynamics of every room they enter. Why people try to figure you out begins with a simple but powerful reality about human nature. People are constantly trying to understand the world around them because understanding creates a sense of safety. When someone enters their environment, the mind immediately begins organizing information, observing behavior, analyzing tone, posture, expressions, and patterns of communication. This process happens almost automatically. It allows people to place others into familiar categories such as friend, rival, leader, follower, predictable, emotional, logical, or impulsive. Once a person has been categorized, the mind relaxes because it believes it can anticipate how that individual will behave in the future. Predictability creates comfort, and comfort allows social environments to function smoothly. But when the chosen one appears within that environment, This process does not unfold in the usual way. Instead of fitting neatly into the patterns people expect, the chosen one moves through situations with a level of composure and awareness that interrupts the usual process of categorization. This disruption immediately captures attention, even if no one openly acknowledges it. People begin noticing that the chosen one does not react the way others typically would. Where some would rush to speak, the chosen one pauses. Where others would reveal emotion quickly, the chosen one studies the situation before responding. Where most people feel the need to explain themselves or seek validation, the chosen one seems comfortable allowing silence to exist. These differences may appear small, but together, they create an experience that the surrounding environment struggles to interpret. The mind senses that something about this individual does not follow the familiar script. As a result, curiosity begins to grow. At first, the curiosity may be subtle. Someone might simply observe the chosen one more closely during conversations, trying to understand how they process information or why they respond with such measured calmness. Another person may notice that the chosen one listens more than they speak, absorbing details that others overlook. Over time, these observations accumulate, and people begin asking themselves quiet questions. Why does this person seem so composed? What are they thinking when they remain silent during moments when others feel compelled to react? How do they stay calm in situations that would provoke frustration or defensiveness in most individuals? These questions reflect a deeper psychological impulse. Humans are uncomfortable when they cannot predict someone's intentions or reactions. Predictability provides a sense of control within social interactions. When people believe they understand someone, they feel confident about how to approach them, how to influence them, and how they might respond to different situations. But the chosen one disrupts that sense of control, simply by existing outside the usual patterns. Because their reactions are guided by reflection rather than impulse, they cannot be easily predicted. This unpredictability does not come from chaos or inconsistency. In fact, the chosen one is often deeply consistent within their own values and observations. The unpredictability arises because their responses do not follow emotional scripts that others rely on to interpret behavior. For example, when confronted with criticism, many people immediately defend themselves, argue back, or attempt to justify their actions. The chosen one, however, may respond with calm curiosity, asking thoughtful questions, or simply observing the situation without reacting emotionally. This unexpected response leaves the critic unsure how to proceed, because the usual emotional cues are missing. Situations like this quickly spread through social environments. People begin discussing the chosen one privately, attempting to piece together an explanation that makes sense of their behavior. In these conversations, the mystery grows even larger, because each person has experienced the chosen one in a slightly different context. Some describe them as calm and thoughtful. Others say they seem distant or difficult to read. A few may interpret their quiet observation as confidence, while others might mistakenly view it as secrecy. These differing interpretations only deepen the curiosity surrounding the chosen one's presence. Everyone senses that there is more beneath the surface, but no one feels completely certain about what it is. The chosen one rarely participates in these attempts to decode them because they are not intentionally cultivating mystery. Their focus remains on understanding the environment around them, rather than managing how others interpret their identity. They do not feel compelled to reveal every thought or explain every decision. This internal stability allows them to move through conversations without constantly adjusting themselves to meet expectations. And ironically, This authenticity makes the mystery even stronger. When someone refuses to perform a predictable role, observers must rely on deeper awareness rather than surface-level assumptions. This process challenges the environment in ways that many people are not accustomed to. Some individuals react positively to this challenge. They feel intrigued by the chosen one's depth and become genuinely interested in understanding their perspective. These individuals may approach the chosen one with thoughtful questions, hoping to learn how they developed such calm clarity. Others react with subtle discomfort, because the inability to categorize someone creates uncertainty. In environments where social hierarchies or emotional patterns are firmly established, the presence of someone who cannot be easily defined can feel unsettling. The chosen one does not compete for status, does not seek approval through predictable behaviors, and does not reveal emotional vulnerabilities in the ways people expect. As a result, those who rely on familiar dynamics may feel unsure how to position themselves around this presence. This uncertainty often motivates even greater attempts to figure the chosen one out. People may watch their interactions carefully, searching for clues that might reveal their true motivations. They analyze their friendships, their reactions to stress, their sense of humor, even the moments when they choose to remain silent. But every observation leads to the same conclusion. The chosen one operates from an inner clarity that cannot be easily reduced to simple explanations. And as this realization spreads through the environment, the chosen one's presence begins taking on a different meaning. Instead of being seen merely as an individual who behaves differently, they become a mirror, reflecting how much of social interaction depends on predictable emotional patterns. The chosen one demonstrates that another way of moving through the world exists, one guided by awareness rather than reaction. This demonstration does not require speeches or explanations. It unfolds naturally through everyday interactions, where calm observation replaces impulsive response. Over time, the environment begins adjusting to this presence. People realize that trying to completely decode the chosen one may be impossible, because their behavior is rooted in internal awareness rather than external expectations. Some individuals eventually stop trying to categorize them altogether, and instead learn to appreciate the perspective they bring into conversations. Others continue feeling curious, but the curiosity evolves into respect rather than suspicion. The chosen one becomes known not simply as mysterious, but as someone whose presence encourages deeper thinking within the environment. And through this process, the chosen one learns an important truth about themselves. They realize that being difficult to define is not a flaw that needs to be corrected. It is a reflection of the depth that comes from self-awareness and emotional discipline. When someone knows themselves clearly, they no longer feel the need to perform a simplified identity for the comfort of others. They allow their actions, observations, and quiet confidence to speak on their behalf. The mystery that others try so hard to decode is simply the natural result of a person who has learned to live from inner clarity rather than external approval. The quiet observer advantage begins with a trait that many chosen ones develop naturally over time, often without realizing how powerful it becomes. While most people feel an instinctive urge to fill silence with conversation, explanation, or emotional reaction, the chosen one often feels comfortable stepping back and simply observing. In many environments, this behavior may appear subtle, almost invisible at first. The chosen one may sit quietly in a group discussion, listening carefully as others share opinions, stories, frustrations, or ambitions. Yet during that quiet presence, something very different is taking place beneath the surface. Instead of focusing only on what is being said, the chosen one begins noticing how it is being said. They observe tone, body language, timing, hesitation, and the emotional currents flowing beneath the conversation. This ability to observe without immediately reacting creates a powerful advantage that many people underestimate. When someone speaks less and listens more, they receive far more information than they reveal. Every conversation becomes an opportunity to learn about how people think, what motivates them, what fears they carry, and what patterns shape their behavior. The chosen one becomes skilled at recognizing subtle signals that others overlook because those others are busy expressing themselves rather than paying attention to the environment. Over time, this quiet observation builds a deep understanding of human dynamics. The chosen one begins recognizing recurring patterns in how people respond to praise, criticism, competition, and uncertainty. They notice how certain individuals reveal insecurity through overconfidence, how others hide intentions behind humor, and how emotional reactions often expose the deeper priorities someone is trying to protect. This awareness does not come from manipulation or judgment. It emerges from patience and curiosity about the complexity of human behavior. Because the chosen one spends more time observing than revealing, the flow of information moves mostly in one direction. People around them speak openly, sometimes sharing details about their thoughts, frustrations, and ambitions without realizing how much they are revealing. Meanwhile, the chosen one remains composed, offering thoughtful responses without exposing the full depth of their own internal world. This creates a dynamic where others gradually feel more transparent, while the chosen one remains difficult to read. The environment begins sensing that there is more behind the chosen one's calm presence than what is immediately visible. That sensation contributes to the mysterious aura people often associate with chosen ones. Yet the mystery is not a performance. It is simply the natural result of someone who values observation as much as expression. The quiet observer advantage also changes how the chosen one navigates conflict and emotional tension. In situations where disagreements escalate quickly, many people react impulsively because they feel the pressure to defend themselves or assert dominance in the conversation. The chosen one, however, often pauses before responding. During that pause, they continue observing the situation, allowing emotions to settle while they consider the broader context of what is happening. This moment of reflection often leads to responses that are calmer and more precise than the reactions others expect. Instead of escalating the conflict, the chosen one may redirect the conversation with a thoughtful question or a balanced observation that shifts the emotional tone of the interaction. Because they have been observing quietly from the beginning, they often understand the underlying dynamics better than anyone else in the room. They may recognize which person is reacting from insecurity, which individual is trying to maintain control of the narrative, and which perspectives are being overlooked. This insight allows them to speak in ways that address the root of the situation, rather than just its surface symptoms. When the chosen one finally contributes their perspective, people often notice that their words carry unusual clarity. It can feel as though they were quietly assembling the pieces of a puzzle, while everyone else was arguing about what the picture should look like. This pattern strengthens the perception that the chosen one possesses a depth of awareness that others struggle to explain. The quiet observer advantage also influences how people feel around the chosen one. Many individuals instinctively trust someone who listens attentively without rushing to judge or interrupt. When the chosen one gives their full attention to another person's words, it creates a sense of respect that encourages openness. People often reveal more of themselves in conversations with someone who listens deeply because they feel heard rather than evaluated. Over time, this dynamic leads many individuals to share insights, concerns, and experiences they might not reveal in other environments. The chosen one becomes a natural confidant because their calm presence invites honesty. Yet even as others open themselves emotionally, the chosen one maintains a sense of balance that prevents them from becoming overwhelmed by the environment. They observe these stories with empathy, but also with awareness, recognizing the patterns and lessons within them. This ability to remain present without absorbing every emotional current allows them to maintain clarity even in complex situations. The more they practice this quiet observation, the sharper their understanding becomes. They begin anticipating how certain interactions might unfold before they happen. Not because they are predicting the future, but because they have studied human behavior closely enough to recognize familiar dynamics repeating themselves in new circumstances. Another important aspect of the quiet observer advantage is the discipline it requires. Remaining silent and attentive is not always easy in environments where people value constant participation and quick responses. The chosen one sometimes faces pressure to speak more, explain more, or react more visibly. Yet they learn that silence can be just as meaningful as words. Silence allows space for deeper understanding to form before conclusions are drawn. It prevents unnecessary conflicts that arise when people respond too quickly to incomplete information. And perhaps most importantly, silence gives the chosen one time to align their responses with their values, rather than reacting impulsively to external pressure. As this habit becomes part of their identity, the chosen one discovers that observation itself becomes a form of quiet leadership. Without dominating conversations, they guide the emotional rhythm of the room simply by remaining calm and attentive. When others see that someone is truly listening, it often encourages them to slow down and reflect as well. Conversations become more thoughtful because the presence of a quiet observer reminds everyone that understanding is more valuable than simply winning an argument. The chosen one does not need to announce this influence or claim authority within the environment. Their consistent behavior naturally shapes the way discussions unfold. People begin respecting their silence as much as their words, because they realize that when the chosen one finally speaks, it is usually after careful consideration. And in that moment, their insight often brings clarity to situations that previously felt chaotic or confusing. Through this process, the chosen one learns that the quiet observer advantage is not about withdrawing from the world or avoiding engagement. It is about engaging more deeply by listening first and speaking second. By allowing observation to guide their actions, they develop an awareness that transforms ordinary interactions into opportunities for understanding. Others may still struggle to fully decode the chosen one's presence, but the reason becomes clearer with time. The mystery surrounding them is simply the natural result of someone who has mastered the rare ability to see more than they say and understand more than they reveal. Emotional control creates mystery. Begins with a truth that many people rarely consider. Most individuals reveal far more about themselves through their emotional reactions than through their words. In everyday interactions, emotions function like signals that broadcast a person's inner state to the environment. Excitement reveals desire. Anger exposes vulnerability. Jealousy points toward insecurity, and impatience often signals a need for control. These reactions are not inherently negative. They are simply part of being human. Yet, because they appear quickly and visibly, they allow others to interpret what someone values, fears, or expects from a situation. When a person reacts immediately and intensely, observers gain a clear map of how to approach them in the future. They learn what provokes them, what motivates them, and what situations might cause them to lose composure. In social environments, this predictability becomes a powerful tool. Some people use it consciously to influence others, while many more use it unconsciously as part of everyday interaction. The chosen one, however, gradually learns to move through situations with a different relationship to emotion. Instead of allowing emotions to dictate every reaction, they develop the ability to pause and process what they are feeling before responding outwardly. This pause may last only a few seconds, yet it creates a profound difference in how their presence is perceived. When others expect an immediate emotional reaction and instead encounter calm reflection, the usual signals they rely on suddenly disappear. The environment becomes uncertain because it cannot easily interpret what the chosen one is thinking or feeling in that moment. This uncertainty becomes one of the foundations of the mystery surrounding the chosen one's presence. Emotional control does not mean the chosen one lacks feeling. In fact, many chosen ones experience emotions very deeply because their awareness allows them to recognize subtle shifts in energy and behavior around them. The difference lies in how those emotions are expressed. Instead of reacting impulsively, the chosen one allows emotions to move through a process of understanding before they are revealed externally. This internal discipline transforms the way others perceive them. When someone remains composed in situations that would normally trigger frustration, defensiveness, or panic, observers begin asking themselves questions. How can this person stay calm while everyone else is reacting emotionally? What are they thinking that allows them to maintain such control? Is their silence hiding something deeper? These questions create an atmosphere where the chosen one appears far more complex than the average individual who reacts immediately to every stimulus. Over time, this composure becomes one of the chosen one's most powerful traits. In tense situations where emotions escalate quickly, their calm presence stands out like still water in the middle of a storm. People may be arguing loudly, defending their perspectives, or attempting to prove dominance within the conversation. Meanwhile, the chosen one listens quietly, observing the unfolding dynamic with patience. Because they are not consumed by emotional reactions, they can see patterns that others miss. They notice who is speaking from insecurity, who is reacting out of fear, and who is attempting to redirect the narrative to protect their own position. When the chosen one finally speaks, their words often carry unusual clarity because they are not clouded by immediate emotional impulse. This clarity can surprise those around them. It feels as though the chosen one has stepped outside the emotional chaos and returned with an understanding that others could not access while caught in the intensity of the moment. Situations like this reinforce the perception that the chosen one operates on a different level of awareness. Another aspect of emotional control that deepens the mystery surrounding the chosen one is the unpredictability it creates for those who attempt manipulation. Many manipulative individuals rely on emotional triggers to influence others. They provoke anger, guilt, sympathy, or fear to guide the behavior of the people around them. When someone reacts predictably to these triggers, manipulation becomes easier because the manipulator knows exactly how the target will respond. But when the chosen one maintains emotional discipline, those triggers lose much of their power. An attempt to provoke anger may be met with calm curiosity. A comment intended to create guilt may receive a thoughtful but neutral response. Instead of reacting according to the manipulator's expectations, the chosen one breaks the pattern entirely. This disruption creates confusion for anyone who hoped to control the situation through emotional pressure. They begin realizing that the usual strategies do not work on someone who processes emotions internally before responding. That realization adds another layer to the chosen one's mysterious presence. People sense that there is a depth of self-awareness guiding their reactions, yet they cannot easily access or influence that internal process. Emotional control also changes the way the chosen one experiences personal challenges. In difficult moments, when others might feel overwhelmed by frustration or disappointment, the chosen one gradually learns to step back and observe the situation from a broader perspective. Instead of asking why something is happening to them, they begin asking what the situation might be revealing about the dynamics involved. This shift transforms emotional reactions into opportunities for understanding. Challenges become lessons about human behavior, personal boundaries, and the subtle forces that shape interactions. Because the chosen one processes experiences in this reflective way, their growth often appears steady and grounded. People who observe them over time may notice that they rarely remain trapped in cycles of drama or impulsive decisions. They adapt quietly, learning from each experience and carrying that insight forward. This steady evolution deepens the aura of mystery surrounding them, because their actions seem guided by a level of awareness that others cannot easily trace. The chosen one does not announce every lesson they learn or explain every adjustment they make. Much of their development happens internally through reflection and observation. As a result, people around them witness the outcomes of that growth without always understanding the process behind it. Emotional discipline, therefore, becomes both a protective shield and a source of influence. By remaining centered in their own awareness, the chosen one prevents others from easily provoking or manipulating them. At the same time, their calm responses often shift the tone of entire conversations. When one person refuses to escalate emotional tension, it becomes more difficult for others to maintain the same level of intensity. The chosen one's presence encourages reflection where impulsive reaction might otherwise dominate. Over time, people begin associating their presence with stability. Even those who cannot fully understand the chosen one's mindset recognize that situations tend to become clearer when that calm perspective enters the discussion. This recognition contributes to the respect and curiosity that follow the chosen one wherever they go. The mystery surrounding them is not created through secrecy or deliberate distance, but through the rare combination of emotional awareness and disciplined response. In a world where many interactions are shaped by immediate reactions, the ability to pause, observe, and respond with clarity becomes extraordinary. Others sense that difference, even if they cannot fully explain it. And that is why emotional control plays such a central role in the chosen one's identity. It allows them to navigate complex situations without losing themselves to the emotional currents around them, and it reveals a deeper truth about their presence. What people interpret as mystery is often simply the visible result of someone who has learned to master their inner world before reacting to the outer one. Independence confuses people. Begins with a reality that many chosen ones discover gradually as they move through different environments. Most social systems depend heavily on predictable forms of validation and approval. From early childhood, people are taught, directly or indirectly, that belonging to a group requires a certain level of conformity. Individuals learn how to adapt their behavior to match the expectations of family, school, workplace, and social circles. Over time, these expectations become deeply embedded in everyday interactions. People begin measuring their decisions based on how others might react, whether they will be praised, accepted, criticized, or excluded. This pattern becomes so normal that many individuals rarely question it. They assume that seeking approval is simply part of human interaction. But when the chosen one enters this environment, something different begins to emerge. The chosen one often carries a quiet sense of independence that does not rely on constant reassurance from the group. They are able to make decisions based on personal reflection rather than immediate social feedback. This independence may not appear dramatic or rebellious on the surface. The chosen one does not necessarily reject community or refuse cooperation. Instead, their difference lies in the internal stability guiding their actions. They do not feel compelled to adjust every opinion or behavior in order to maintain approval. Because their decisions come from an inner compass rather than external pressure, their behavior can appear unpredictable to those who expect everyone to follow familiar social patterns. This unpredictability creates confusion because many people unconsciously rely on approval dynamics to interpret relationships. When someone behaves in ways that do not clearly respond to praise, criticism, or pressure, the usual tools for understanding them stop working. Consider how many interactions are guided by subtle attempts to influence others through social signals. Compliments are offered to build alliance. Criticism is used to challenge authority. And group agreement often reinforces certain behaviors while discouraging others. When someone strongly depends on these signals, their behavior can be shaped through approval or disapproval from the group. But the chosen one often responds differently. Praise may be received with quiet gratitude, but does not dramatically change their direction. Criticism may be considered thoughtfully, without triggering defensiveness or immediate submission. Social pressure that might cause others to conform often fails to produce the expected reaction. Instead, the chosen one continues acting according to their internal sense of alignment. This pattern quickly becomes noticeable to those around them. People begin asking themselves why this person does not react the way others do. Why does praise not inflate their ego? Why does criticism not easily destabilize them? Why does group pressure fail to redirect their behavior? These questions arise because the chosen one is operating from independence rather than dependency. And for individuals who rely heavily on social influence to navigate relationships, this independence feels unfamiliar and difficult to interpret. In some environments, the chosen one's independence may initially be misunderstood as distance or detachment. Because they do not constantly seek validation or approval, others may assume they are uninterested in connection. Yet the reality is often quite different. The chosen one values authentic connection deeply, but they prefer relationships built on honesty and mutual respect rather than on the exchange of approval signals. They are willing to engage fully with others, but they do not feel compelled to sacrifice personal clarity simply to maintain harmony within a group dynamic. This distinction can be challenging for people who are accustomed to more conventional social patterns. When someone refuses to participate in unspoken expectations, the environment must adjust its understanding of that person's role within the group. This adjustment often begins with curiosity and sometimes with uncertainty. Another reason independence confuses people is that it disrupts hierarchical structures that depend on influence and control. In many social systems, individuals gain authority by shaping how others behave. Leaders, managers, or dominant personalities often rely on approval and disapproval to maintain their position within the group. When someone enters the environment who is not easily influenced by these signals, the dynamic changes subtly but significantly. The chosen one may respect authority and cooperate with others, yet their sense of direction remains anchored in personal awareness rather than external command. This independence can create discomfort for individuals who expect their influence to shape everyone around them. They may attempt to test the chosen one's boundaries through praise, pressure, or criticism to see if their authority will produce the expected response. When those attempts fail to alter the chosen one's core behavior, confusion grows even stronger. It becomes clear that this person cannot be guided through the usual methods of social influence. Over time, the environment begins recognizing that the chosen one's independence is not a form of rebellion, but a reflection of self-trust. They have spent enough time observing themselves and the world around them to develop confidence in their own judgment. That confidence allows them to participate in social environments without becoming defined by them. They can listen respectfully to others while still maintaining their own perspective. They can adapt when necessary without abandoning their sense of identity. This balance between openness and independence creates an aura that many people struggle to categorize. It is neither submissive nor confrontational, neither isolated nor dependent. Instead, it represents a form of internal stability that operates beyond the usual frameworks of social validation. As the chosen one continues moving through life with this independence, people around them begin noticing something else as well. Their decisions often carry a quiet consistency that becomes visible over time. Because those decisions are not driven by temporary approval or fear of rejection, they tend to align with long-term values rather than short-term pressure. This consistency builds a reputation that others may gradually come to respect. Even those who once felt confused by the chosen one's independence may begin recognizing the strength behind it. They see someone who is able to navigate complex social environments without losing clarity about who they are or what they believe. And while this independence may continue to feel mysterious to some observers, it also becomes one of the most defining characteristics of the chosen one's presence. It demonstrates that true confidence does not require constant affirmation from others. Instead, it grows quietly through the willingness to trust one's own awareness, even when the environment expects conformity. In this way, independence becomes both a source of confusion and a source of influence. People may not fully understand how the chosen one maintains such stability without relying on external approval, but they can feel the difference it creates within every interaction. The chosen one stands within the group, while remaining guided by something deeper than group expectations. And that quiet independence is one of the reasons their presence continues to intrigue, inspire, and sometimes unsettle those who encounter them. Mystery attracts both curiosity and fear, begins with an observation that appears repeatedly wherever the chosen one goes. When someone carries an energy that cannot be easily categorized, the people around them rarely remain neutral. Instead, they tend to move toward one of two reactions: curiosity or discomfort. Both reactions emerge from the same source. Human beings naturally seek clarity and predictability in their surroundings. When they encounter someone whose presence feels difficult to define, the mind begins searching for explanations. Some people approach this experience with fascination. Others respond with quiet suspicion or unease. The chosen one quickly learns that mystery acts like a mirror within social environments, reflecting the inner state of those who encounter it. For individuals who value growth and exploration, mystery becomes an invitation. They feel intrigued by the chosen one's calmness, their thoughtful silence, and their ability to move through situations without revealing every layer of their inner world. These individuals often find themselves drawn toward the chosen one, not because they expect to decode every detail, but because they sense that depth exists beneath the surface. They may initiate conversations filled with genuine curiosity, asking thoughtful questions about perspective, life experience, or personal philosophy. What attracts them is not merely the unknown, but the possibility that interacting with someone so self-aware might expand their own understanding. In these moments, the chosen one becomes a catalyst for intellectual and emotional exploration. Their presence encourages others to look beyond superficial interactions and consider deeper patterns in human behavior and purpose. Yet for other individuals, the same mystery produces a very different reaction. When someone cannot be easily read, those who depend heavily on predictability begin feeling uneasy. They may interpret the chosen one's calm observation as secrecy, or assume that silence must be hiding hidden intentions. Because they cannot quickly categorize the chosen one, their minds begin filling the gaps with speculation. This speculation may take many forms. Some individuals quietly analyze every action the chosen one takes, hoping to uncover clues about their motives. Others may attempt to test the chosen one through subtle social pressure, trying to provoke a reaction that will reveal something more familiar. In environments where control and influence are important to certain individuals, the inability to predict the chosen one's responses can feel particularly threatening. These individuals often rely on emotional signals to navigate relationships. When someone does not provide those signals in the expected way, it disrupts their sense of control. The chosen one's calm demeanor and thoughtful restraint make it difficult for such individuals to determine how they should position themselves around them. The result is an emotional tension that can quietly spread through the environment. What is fascinating about this dynamic is that the chosen one rarely intends to create these reactions. Their mystery is not a deliberate performance designed to intrigue or intimidate others. It emerges naturally from the way they interact with the world, because they value observation over impulsive expression and clarity over constant explanation. Their behavior does not follow the typical patterns that people use to interpret personality. Over time, this difference becomes increasingly visible. In group conversations, the chosen one may listen attentively while others speak, offering thoughtful insights only when they feel something meaningful can be added. In moments of tension, they remain composed rather than escalating the emotional intensity of the situation. In environments where people compete for attention or approval, the chosen one often appears comfortable standing slightly apart from the struggle. These behaviors gradually shape the perception others form about them. Those who are curious begin studying the chosen one's presence with admiration. They sense that this calm independence reflects a level of self-awareness that many people spend years trying to develop. Being near such a presence can feel inspiring because it demonstrates that another way of living is possible, one not dominated by constant emotional reaction or the need for validation. Conversations with the chosen one often feel different from ordinary interactions. Instead of shallow exchanges, discussions may drift toward deeper reflections about life, purpose, and perception. For individuals seeking meaning or growth, these interactions become memorable experiences that strengthen their curiosity even further. At the same time, individuals who feel threatened by mystery may react in subtle ways that reveal their discomfort. They may attempt to label the chosen one with simplistic descriptions, hoping that assigning a category will reduce the uncertainty surrounding them. Others might create stories or assumptions that explain the chosen one's behavior in terms that make sense within their own worldview. These reactions are not always hostile, but they demonstrate how strongly the human mind resists situations that cannot be easily explained. The chosen one eventually realizes that this tension between curiosity and fear is a natural response to mystery. Their presence disrupts familiar patterns, and disruption always provokes reaction. The important lesson for the chosen one is not to become consumed by these reactions. Some people will always feel drawn toward what they do not fully understand, while others will instinctively distance themselves from it. Neither response needs to define the chosen one's path. Their responsibility lies in remaining aligned with their own awareness, rather than trying to satisfy every interpretation others create. As time passes, the chosen one notices something interesting about how these reactions evolve. The individuals who approach them with curiosity often develop strong respect for their perspective. They realize that the mystery surrounding the chosen one is not emptiness, but depth, a reflection of someone who chooses their words carefully and acts from internal clarity rather than external pressure. Meanwhile, the individuals who once felt uneasy may gradually soften their perspective as they observe the chosen one's consistent behavior. When someone repeatedly demonstrates calm integrity and thoughtful awareness, even skepticism can transform into cautious respect. In this way, the mystery surrounding the chosen one slowly reshapes the environment around them. It encourages deeper conversations for those who are curious and challenges rigid assumptions for those who initially resisted. The chosen one's presence becomes a quiet force that pushes people to reflect on their own reactions to the unknown. Some will grow from that reflection, while others may continue trying to define what cannot easily be defined. But the chosen one learns that the tension between curiosity and fear is simply part of carrying a presence that moves beyond ordinary patterns. Mystery does not need to be explained in order to have value. Sometimes it exists to remind others that human awareness can reach depths far greater than what surface-level interactions reveal. The strategic power of being unpredictable begins with a realization that most people never consciously examine. Much of human interaction is built upon expectation. Over time, people observe each other's habits, emotional patterns, preferences, and weaknesses, and they slowly construct mental predictions about how others will behave in future situations. These predictions form a kind of invisible script that guides social dynamics. When someone is praised, they are expected to respond with gratitude. When they are criticized, they are expected to defend themselves. When pressure is applied, most people either submit or escalate emotionally. Because these patterns repeat so often, individuals learn how to anticipate reactions long before they occur. This predictability creates a sense of control within social environments. People feel comfortable when they believe they understand how others will respond, because it allows them to manage conversations, relationships, and even conflicts with greater certainty. But when the chosen one enters these dynamics, something subtle yet powerful begins to disrupt this pattern of expectation. The chosen one does not follow the predictable script that others rely on to interpret behavior. Their responses come from reflection rather than impulse, awareness rather than emotional pressure. As a result, the environment quickly discovers that predicting the chosen one's reactions is far more difficult than predicting those of others. This unpredictability does not come from chaos or inconsistency. In fact, the chosen one is often extremely consistent internally, because their actions are guided by values and observation, rather than shifting social pressure. The unpredictability arises because those internal principles cannot be easily seen or manipulated by others. Without access to the chosen one's inner compass, observers struggle to anticipate how they will respond to any given situation. In everyday interactions, this difference may appear small at first. Someone might attempt to provoke a reaction through sarcasm or criticism, expecting anger or defensiveness in return. Instead, the chosen one responds calmly, perhaps with a thoughtful question or quiet silence. In another moment, someone might attempt to influence them through praise or flattery, expecting enthusiasm or agreement. Yet the chosen one simply acknowledges the comment without altering their direction. These unexpected responses create moments of confusion for those who rely on predictable emotional signals. The usual strategies for guiding behavior suddenly lose their effectiveness. Over time, this pattern becomes noticeable across many interactions. People begin realizing that the chosen one cannot be easily influenced through the emotional triggers that often guide social behavior. This realization shifts the balance of power within relationships. Manipulation depends heavily on predictability. When someone knows exactly how another person will react, they can design situations that produce the desired outcome. But when reactions become unpredictable, manipulation becomes far more difficult to execute. The chosen one's calm unpredictability therefore acts as a natural defense against attempts to control them. Individuals who once believed they could shape the situation through pressure or emotional provocation gradually recognize that their influence has limits. The chosen one's responses remain guided by awareness rather than external force. What makes this unpredictability especially powerful is that it operates quietly. The chosen one does not need to announce that they cannot be manipulated. Their behavior simply demonstrates it over time. When a person repeatedly responds with thoughtful clarity instead of impulsive reaction, the environment begins adjusting its expectations. People who might have attempted manipulation in the past become more cautious because they realize the usual tactics will not produce the expected results. This caution often manifests as increased respect. Even individuals who once felt skeptical or curious about the Chosen One's presence begin recognizing that there is a disciplined awareness guiding their actions. They may not fully understand the Chosen One's perspective, but they recognize that it cannot be easily controlled. The strategic power of unpredictability also affects how the Chosen One navigates opportunities and challenges. Because they do not follow rigid emotional scripts, they are able to adapt to changing circumstances with greater flexibility. When unexpected problems arise, many individuals become trapped in habitual reactions, such as frustration or panic. The Chosen One, however, approaches the situation with curiosity and observation. Instead of immediately reacting to the disruption, they analyze what is happening and consider multiple possibilities before deciding how to respond. This reflective approach often reveals solutions or perspectives that others overlook in the rush of emotion. Over time, people notice that the Chosen One seems capable of navigating complex situations with unusual clarity. They are not easily thrown off balance because their reactions are not controlled by predictable emotional triggers. This ability to remain flexible and aware in uncertain circumstances further strengthens the aura of mystery surrounding them. Observers sense that the Chosen One operates according to a deeper framework than the typical patterns of reaction and response. The unpredictability, therefore, becomes more than a social advantage. It becomes a strategic mindset that allows the Chosen One to move through life with greater awareness and freedom. When someone is not bound by predictable emotional responses, they gain the ability to choose their actions consciously rather than reacting automatically. This freedom creates space for thoughtful decision-making, even in situations where others feel overwhelmed by pressure or expectation. Another important aspect of this unpredictability is the discipline required to maintain it. The Chosen One does not become unpredictable simply by refusing to react. True unpredictability emerges from self-mastery. It requires the ability to observe emotional impulses without immediately acting on them. It requires patience to listen fully before speaking, and courage to remain calm when others expect emotional escalation. Developing this discipline often takes years of self-reflection and personal growth. The Chosen One learns through experience that every impulsive reaction reveals information about their internal state to the environment. When they respond with calm awareness instead, they maintain control over how much of that internal world becomes visible. This discipline gradually strengthens their sense of independence and clarity. As they continue practicing this approach, the Chosen One begins recognizing a deeper truth about unpredictability. It is not about confusing others or creating distance. It is about preserving the freedom to act from understanding rather than pressure. When someone becomes predictable through emotional habit, their behavior can be easily influenced by external circumstances. But when someone responds thoughtfully and intentionally, their actions remain aligned with their own values and insights. This alignment allows the Chosen One to navigate relationships, opportunities, and conflicts without losing their sense of direction. Others may still attempt to analyze or decode their behavior, but the deeper motivations guiding their decisions remain rooted in personal awareness rather than social expectation. Over time, the environment begins adjusting to this presence. People recognize that interactions with the Chosen One follow a different rhythm than ordinary social dynamics. Conversations become more thoughtful because impulsive reactions no longer dominate the exchange. Conflicts often resolve more calmly because emotional escalation fails to provoke the usual responses. And opportunities that require clear judgment tend to find their way toward the chosen one, because others trust their ability to see beyond immediate emotional noise. In this way, the strategic power of unpredictability transforms the chosen one's role within the environment. They become someone who cannot be easily manipulated, someone whose presence introduces clarity into chaotic situations, and someone whose decisions are guided by awareness rather than reaction. This transformation does not happen overnight, nor does it require the chosen one to isolate themselves from the world. Instead, it emerges gradually as they continue refining the balance between observation, emotional discipline, and intentional action. The mystery surrounding their presence deepens not because they are hiding who they are, but because their behavior reflects a level of self-awareness that many people rarely encounter. And within that mystery lies the quiet strength that allows the chosen one to move through the world with freedom, resilience, and influence that others struggle to fully explain. Why mystery protects the chosen one begins with a realization that becomes clearer the longer the chosen one moves through life with awareness and discipline. In many environments, people assume that power comes from visibility, dominance, or the ability to command attention. Yet there is another form of strength that operates quietly beneath the surface of social interaction. This strength emerges when a person understands themselves deeply enough that they no longer feel compelled to reveal every thought, emotion, or intention to the world around them. When someone carries this level of self-awareness, their presence naturally develops an aura that others find difficult to interpret. This aura is not created through secrecy or deliberate distance. It forms because the chosen one has learned how to maintain internal clarity without constantly seeking external validation. Over time, this mystery becomes more than a social characteristic. It becomes a form of protection that shapes how others approach them. Human behavior is heavily influenced by perception. People tend to act confidently when they believe they understand someone's motivations and weaknesses. When those elements appear visible, it becomes easier for others to test boundaries, apply pressure, or attempt manipulation. But when the chosen one remains difficult to read, those strategies become uncertain. Individuals who might normally attempt to challenge or control another person suddenly hesitate because they cannot accurately predict the outcome of their actions. They sense that there is a depth beneath the chosen one's calm presence that they cannot easily access. This hesitation acts like an invisible boundary that protects the chosen one without requiring confrontation. The environment instinctively becomes more cautious because uncertainty always invites caution. This protective quality becomes especially visible in situations where conflict might otherwise escalate. In many social dynamics, individuals rely on emotional provocation to gain the upper hand in an argument or disagreement. They expect that criticism will trigger defensiveness, or that pressure will create visible frustration. These emotional reactions provide valuable information about how far someone can be pushed before they lose composure. Yet when the chosen one responds to these situations with quiet observation rather than impulsive reaction, the usual signals disappear. The person attempting to provoke a reaction finds themselves standing in unfamiliar territory. Without emotional cues to guide their next move, they must either retreat or reconsider their approach entirely. The chosen one's mystery therefore neutralizes many forms of manipulation simply by refusing to participate in predictable emotional patterns. This protection does not require aggressive resistance or dramatic confrontation. It operates through calm presence and disciplined awareness. Over time, the environment begins recognizing that the chosen one cannot be easily pulled into unnecessary conflict. Their silence carries weight because it suggests that there is more being understood beneath the surface than what is immediately visible. In many situations, this realization alone is enough to discourage those who might otherwise attempt to create tension or drama. The chosen one becomes someone people approach thoughtfully rather than impulsively, because they know their actions will not provoke the usual reactions. Another aspect of this protective mystery emerges in the way the chosen one handles information. Because they do not feel compelled to share every detail of their personal experiences or future plans, they maintain control over what others know about them. This control creates a natural shield against gossip, misunderstanding, and unnecessary interference. When someone reveals every aspect of their life openly, the environment gains access to information that can easily be misinterpreted or used to influence future interactions. But when the chosen one shares selectively and intentionally, they prevent others from constructing narratives about them based on incomplete understanding. People may speculate about their intentions, but speculation rarely carries the same power as confirmed knowledge. The chosen one therefore preserves their autonomy simply by choosing when and how to reveal aspects of their inner world. This approach does not mean the chosen one lives in isolation or distrusts others. In fact, many chosen ones build meaningful relationships grounded in honesty and respect. The difference lies in their awareness of how information moves through social environments. They understand that not every detail of their thoughts or emotions needs to be exposed in order to form genuine connections. Instead, they share gradually, allowing trust to develop naturally rather than revealing everything at once. This thoughtful approach creates relationships that feel deeper and more stable because they are built on mutual understanding rather than superficial disclosure. The mystery surrounding the chosen one therefore becomes a filter that protects the quality of their connections. Those who approach with genuine curiosity and respect often discover layers of insight beneath the calm exterior. Those who approach with manipulation or control quickly realize that they cannot easily access what they hoped to exploit. As the chosen one continues moving through life with this quiet discipline, their presence begins influencing the broader environment in subtle ways. People who interact with them regularly may start reflecting on their own behavior. They notice that impulsive reactions and constant self-exposure are not the only ways to navigate social situations. The chosen one demonstrates that clarity and restraint can create stronger boundaries than emotional confrontation ever could. This example often inspires others to reconsider how they present themselves within relationships and communities. The chosen one's mystery, therefore, becomes more than a personal shield. It becomes a lesson in self-awareness for those willing to observe it. Individuals who value growth may begin adopting similar habits of observation and reflection, realizing that their own presence can become calmer and more grounded when they learn to pause before reacting. Yet even as this influence spreads, the chosen one remains focused on maintaining their internal balance rather than cultivating an image. Their mystery is not a strategy for gaining admiration or control. It is simply the natural expression of someone who understands the importance of inner stability. When a person becomes comfortable with their own thoughts and emotions, they no longer feel pressured to explain themselves constantly. They trust that their actions will speak clearly enough over time. This trust creates a sense of quiet confidence that others instinctively recognize. It is the confidence of someone who does not need to prove their identity to every observer. Because of this stability, the chosen one often finds that situations which might destabilize others pass through their life with less disruption. Criticism becomes information rather than an attack. Praise becomes appreciation rather than validation. Conflict becomes an opportunity for understanding rather than a battlefield for ego. These shifts occur because the chosen one's identity is anchored internally rather than defined by external reactions. The mystery that others perceive is therefore a reflection of inner balance rather than distance or secrecy. And that balance forms one of the most powerful forms of protection a person can carry. It shields the chosen one from unnecessary drama, discourages attempts at manipulation, and allows them to move through complex social environments without losing clarity about who they are. Over time, people begin sensing that approaching the chosen one requires a different kind of interaction than they are used to. Quick judgments and emotional games rarely succeed because they dissolve against the calm surface of someone who observes more than they react. Instead, meaningful connection emerges through patience, honesty, and genuine curiosity. Those who approach with these qualities often discover that the chosen one's mystery is not a wall, but a gateway to deeper understanding. Beneath the quiet exterior exists a person who sees the world with unusual clarity and who chooses to engage with it thoughtfully rather than impulsively. And in this way, the mystery that once confused others becomes a defining strength that protects the chosen one's path while quietly guiding those who are ready to learn from its presence. Embracing the power of your mystery brings the journey of the chosen one into a deeper perspective, revealing that what others struggle to understand about you is often the very quality that protects and elevates your path. Throughout life, you may have noticed that people frequently attempt to decode your presence. They study your words, your silence, your decisions, and even your calmness, searching for a clear explanation that will allow them to categorize you in the same way they categorize everyone else. Yet time after time, their attempts fall short because your presence does not operate according to the usual patterns of emotional reaction, social approval, or predictable behavior. What they interpret as mystery is simply the visible result of a person who has developed self-awareness, emotional discipline, and independence. These qualities create a presence that cannot easily be reduced to labels or expectations. In a world where many people constantly reveal themselves through impulsive reactions and the need for validation, the chosen one moves differently. You observe before reacting, reflect before speaking, and choose your actions based on clarity rather than pressure. This difference naturally creates curiosity, sometimes admiration, and occasionally discomfort for those who expect everyone to behave according to familiar social scripts. But the deeper lesson within this experience is that you were never meant to live in a way that makes others feel completely comfortable with predicting you. Your path requires awareness, and awareness often appears mysterious to those who have not yet cultivated it themselves. As the chosen one continues growing, they begin recognizing that their mystery is not something to hide or apologize for. Instead, it becomes a natural extension of the life they have chosen to live. When you no longer feel compelled to reveal every thought or explain every decision, you create space for your actions to carry meaning on their own. When you maintain emotional discipline instead of reacting impulsively, you prevent others from manipulating your direction. And when you trust your internal compass more than external approval, you gain the freedom to move through the world with authenticity rather than performance. Over time, people may still attempt to understand you, but their interpretations will always remain incomplete, because your awareness continues evolving beyond the boundaries of simple explanation. The chosen one learns that not every aspect of their presence needs to be understood by everyone around them. True strength often lies in remaining grounded within your own clarity while allowing others to interpret your journey through their own perspective. Some individuals will feel inspired by the depth they sense in you and will approach with genuine curiosity. Others may remain puzzled by your independence or uncertain about your intentions. Both reactions are natural responses to encountering someone who refuses to live according to predictable patterns. The important truth is that your mystery is not an obstacle to connection, but a reflection of inner balance. It demonstrates that you have learned to know yourself without depending on the world to define you. And as you continue walking your path with awareness, patience, and authenticity, that quiet mystery becomes one of the most powerful forces guiding your journey forward.